Hello everyone, I am Maria Consuelo S. Gonzalez, the Project Development Officer 3 of Pantawid Pamilya Pilipino Program. I will discuss about CCT Plus. CCT Plus stands for the Conditional Cash Transfer, Pangkaragdagang Lingap sa pag-Unlad ng Sambahayan. Let me share to you the directives and basis to the road of CCT Plus development. The government recognizes the continuous effort of our department in establishing programs that invest on human capital and improvement of the basic services of the poor. This National Poverty Reduction Strategy was signed into law on April 17, 2019, or also known as Republic Act No. 11310 or the Pantawid Pamilya Pilipino Program Act or PORPIS Act. It is also taken into account that Republic Act 11291 or the Magna Carta of the Poor, Philippine Development Plan of 2017 to 2022, and Ambition Natin 2040 seeks the establishment of a system of progressive realization to ensure the poor's full enjoyment of their rights to adequate food, decent work, relevant and quality education, adequate housing, and highest attainable standard of health. With the aim of the Pantawid Pamilya to be more inclusive, modified conditional cash transfer or MCCT for families in needs of special protection or FNSP was conceptualized and implemented to maximize the reach of the conditional cash transfer program for the purpose of helping families and children in difficult circumstances overcome their situation and mainstream them to the regular CCT while generating appropriate resources and services in the community. In 2014, aside from FNSP, the MCCT then catered Indigenous people in geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas or IPs in Jeddah and homeless street families or HSF. Aside from the conditional cash transfer intended for health and education, support services and intervention or SSI were provided to uplift the socio-economic status of the MCCT beneficiaries. Because the MCCT is serving different groups of beneficiaries, Memorandum Circular 09 for homeless street families and Memorandum Circular 19 for IPs and JDA guidelines were created for the SSI implementation. The focus of the interventions is based on the need and assessment of the community facilitator to achieve the goal of the MCCT for its beneficiaries. For our region, we cater IPs living in JDA areas. The support services interventions for MCCT IP beneficiaries is specifically along health, sanitation, education, livelihood activities, capability building training, promotion of IP rights, or any collective engagement that will enhance their self-determination. After 2 years of implementation of SSI, the management conducted program evaluation and research studies with the help of NGOs and universities. Based on the assessment, there is a need of strengthening SSI for the MCCT beneficiaries. Therefore, the program issued Memorandum Circular 07 of 2016 or the Enhanced SSI Guidelines. Specifically, it is focused on the strengthening the participation of MCCT beneficiaries in the identification of appropriate services based on their needs and maximize their contributions to their development process. Develop capacities and expand opportunities for the poor, vulnerable, and disadvantaged sectors. Through the passage of implementing rules and regulation of RA 11310 or the PORPIS Act in December 2019, the MCCT and RCCT will be merged as one CCT program. Hence, SSI guidelines was revisited. Then guidelines on the implementations of CCT Plus demand-driven intervention and framework was approved by the MANCOM last February 2020, wherein SSI was changed into Conditional Cash Transfer, Pangkaragdagang Lingap sa pag-Unlad ng Sambahayan, Demand-Driven Intervention or CCT Plus DDI. When we say demand-driven, it is motivated or caused by economic demand. CCT Plus aims to provide a demand-driven interventions to the indigenous peoples, homeless families, and other marginalized groups to be able to meet their basic needs like their daily consumption and ensure that they are ready to comply with the program conditions. To be able to uplift and improve the standard of living of its beneficiaries through strengthening their skills and providing livelihood for income generation. And, of course, to ensure the full observance of the program safeguards specific for IPs and other vulnerable groups. The target beneficiaries of the program are homeless families, such as transient. These are people who have spent the least time homeless and those who still have a strong desire to extricate themselves from homelessness. When their efforts to extricate themselves from homelessness fails, they may join the long-term homeless. Next is episodic. These are people who have been homeless longer, currently homeless, and have experienced at least 3 periods of homeless in the previous year who treat them in one direction or the other. They regard their homeless circumstances less negatively than the transient homeless. Although they have hope to establish their lives, such as hope is aged with despair. At this stage, the push and pull factors are combined in the decision-making process of the homeless person and family. When we say push factor, it is the reason behind why a person or a family is being driven to homelessness. Examples are marital problems, family problems, unemployment, lack of money, demolished homes, disaster, calamities, substance abuse, and mental health problems. Why we say pull factor, it is the reason behind why a person or a family is attracted or encouraged to stay in the streets or to stay homeless. Examples are because they meet people having the same situation and consider them as their new family. They can find instant temporary jobs, they find the streets as their home, lack of affordable and appropriate housing, loss of housing, and have an access to different opportunities. Last is chronic. These are the ones who have been on the streets for a long time, has been continuously homeless for a year or more, or has had a minimum of 4 episodes of homelessness in the previous 3 years. They have no realistic hopes for the future. Homelessness has been accepted and they tend to be contented with their lives. Some claiming to have chosen this lifestyle, they have accommodated themselves to being homeless. The pull factors dominate obviously because of significant time interval. The push factors do not matter anymore because they happened already years ago. Another target beneficiaries of the CCT Plus are the indigenous peoples or IPs, such as the traditional or the IPs that purely practicing their ancestors' culture and traditions, while IP, mainstream dominant culture, are practicing mixed culture and traditions of IPs and non-IPs. The program coverage are IPs living in geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas or GIDs, Pantawid areas with high number of IPs or ICCs, and highly urbanized cities and areas with high incidence of homeless families. The demand-driven interventions progressively address the complex and multifaceted concerns of the Pantawid beneficiaries. Thus, it is also vital that the beneficiaries are involved in community planning, implementation, monitoring and evaluation in coordination with the partner agencies or institutions. It is primarily envisages the beneficiaries in finding solutions to their difficulties towards empowerment following the community organizing approach to ensure a community-driven development and conversion strategy of programs and services towards genuine community empowerment. These are four types of demand-driven interventions to be given for the homeless or IP beneficiaries. First is Pangkaragdagang Lingap sa pag-Unlad ng Sambahayan or Livelihood Assistance and Income Generating Project, Livelihood Plus. This includes provision of capital assistance grants, where financial assistance given to the qualified Pantawid beneficiary per household who wish to engage in livelihood or income-generating projects. The amount of cash assistance grant that can be availed will be based on the required capitalization outlined in the submitted and approved project proposal, not exceeding a maximum amount of 20,000 pesos per individual or for every member of the group or association. Second is Competency Development for Livelihood Grant or CDLG. It is utilized for the acquisition of skills, knowledge, and other inputs necessary to enhance their productivity and or profitability in starting and managing livelihood and or enterprise. Each eligible beneficiary can avail up to maximum of 10,000 pesos of CDLG per training per year. The competency development for livelihood can be in the form of workshops, technical vocational education, and training courses, orientation and practical application, or modular courses such as micro-enterprise development training. Third is Grant for Pre-Employment Assistance or GPEA. It aims to provide pre-employment assistance to augment expenses in securing employment documents and transportation in order to provide opportunities for the beneficiaries to access quality jobs. Qualified Pantawid beneficiaries in the roster at least 18 years old at the date of employment are qualified for the provision of GPEA. The said member should have at least one certification that supports or enables high employability chances, like training certification from TESDA and others, and must have available potential or guaranteed employer which offers a minimum of 6 months employment duration. The maximum grant amount that an eligible beneficiary may receive is 5,000 pesos. The exact amount shall be determined both by the worker and by the beneficiary using the GPEA individual assessment form. In case the maximum ceiling, only the exact amount shall be provided to the participant. Expenses in excess of 5,000 may be accessed from other partners and or absorbed as counterparts of the beneficiaries. Remember that only one member per household may avail Livelihood Assistance Plus. The following are the conditions. If the Competency Development Livelihood Grant or CDLG and CAG or Cash Assistance Grants are both availed by an individual per household, the total maximum amount shall be 25,000 pesos, and ensure that the provision of cash assistance grants shall be subsequent and related to Competency Development Livelihood Grants or CDLG. The second condition is that GPEA or Grants Pre-Employment Assistance may be availed by any qualified Pantawid beneficiary per household, one at a time per year, and they may be utilized together with CDLG by the same member. However, GPEA could not be availed by the household at the same time within the year if household has already availed cash assistance grants. The second DDI is Pangkaragdagang Lingap tungo sa pag-Unlad ng Samahang Komunidad at Kabataan or Community and Youth Development Plus. Community organizing and youth development aims to strengthen the participation of beneficiaries in the conduct of community development activities. This includes values formation trainings for the community or families, volunteers development, leadership training, and other community development activities, aimed at enhancing the knowledge, skills, and attitude of members of the community such as but not limited to women, elderly, and persons with disabilities or PWD, parent leaders, community leaders, and youth leaders towards empowerment in terms of managing their resources, advocating of their needs, assisting them to secure important documents to establish their identity, use for health, education, and employment, and or addressing issues and concerns in the community. The third PDI is Proyektong Lingap tungo sa pag-Unlad ng Sambahayan or Small Scale Community Project Plus. Small Scale Community Project aims to address the identified community needs and or felt needs of the beneficiaries within the Purok Sitio level. High priority shall be given to projects that aims to address and or alleviate problems pertaining to food, water, sanitation, farm-to-market road, disaster, and small infrastructure. These projects include such as but not limited to small access infrastructure that will help the beneficiaries comply with the conditions of the program. This will provide support for their economic activities such as equipment for common service facilities or manufacturing or processing facilities. They will be also given opportunity to have access to basic services, such as but not limited to communal water supply, sanitation facilities, waste reduction projects, rehabilitation, and a community kitchen to address food security in which the community has identified in coordination with the LGU. The total amount of grant shall be divided among the qualified Pantawid households in the community or sitio level with a maximum amount of 25,000 pesos per household, while expenses in excess of the total project cost shall be accessed through the LGU or other partners or institutions. Also, the small-scale community initiated projects shall serve as a venue to strengthen the capacities of the community towards having ownership in moving towards their self-determined development while ensuring the preservation of culture and tradition. This project shall also serve as means for strengthening relationship since not only the beneficiaries but also the whole community, especially those hard-to-reach areas. The fourth DDI is Pangkaragdagang Lingap para sa upa ng Sambahayan or Alternative Family Home or AFH Plus. The Alternative Family Homes aims to provide house rental subsidy for the qualified Pantawid beneficiaries in order to ensure compliance with the conditions of the program. The following are the qualified Pantawid beneficiaries who may avail the AFH grant. First is homeless street families, including itinerant IPs who wish to get a stable and decent abode but do not have provinces to go back and do not want to return to their places of origin due to lack of opportunities, conflicts within the area, distance, and accessibility to services shall be referred to available housing facilities or the household may determine available shelter near to the place of their economic activities. The household may be provided with rental subsidy based on the assessment of the field staff for a maximum of 6,500 pesos for 12 months, and subject for assessment of another 12 months if there is a need to continue to rent subsidy for a maximum of 6 months. Since household may avail other interventions, it will help the HSF obtain a stable source of income and eventually have their own permanent place to live in. Next is IPES and GDER beneficiaries enrolled in high school, who are the monitored children, son, daughter, grandson, or granddaughter, needing temporary shelters or lodging near their schools, may avail alternative family home subsidy for a maximum of 20,000 pesos per student per school year, provided that they do not have other higher education scholarship or grants, or with scholarship or grants but not provided with board and lodging expenses. Third is pregnant IP women in JDA who belong to the succeeding pregnancy and having pregnant status in the program information system, specifically those household head or female and members whose relation to the head is wife or spouse, daughter, granddaughter, and daughter-in-law, needing a halfway house near the birthing facility may be provided with alternative family home rent subsidy. Alternative Family Home or AFH shall serve as a one-time rental subsidy of a maximum of 4,500 pesos per month, provided for a maximum of 2 months, 1 month before expected date of delivery, and 1 month after giving birth. In terms of funds, it is expected that the project proposals should contain detailed budgetary requirements, appropriate attachments, such as but not limited to simple project study and other pertinent documentations, and duly signed by proponents. The project proposal shall be approved by the Regional Director for Funding, subject to the usual accounting and auditing procedure. In the event that the project is communal in nature, such as but not limited to water system or community-based food and nutrition, the approved budget shall be released directly to the selected beneficiaries by the community. Fund release may also be through the active members in the qualified Pantawid Pamilya household roster, as specified in the procedure per intervention component, or through implementing agencies or institutions consistent with the government procurement process. In terms of monitoring and evaluation, the regular monitoring of the projects shall be conducted by the concerned DSWD staff, concerned local government officials, and or the tribal leaders. That's the end of my presentation. I hope you have learned about CCT Plus or the Conditional Cash Transfer Pangkaragdagang Lingap sa pag-Unlad ng Sambahayan. Truly, there will be changes in our program implementation, but these changes are to improve our processes and services for our partner beneficiaries. Let us continue serving for and with the poor, vulnerable, and disadvantaged individuals, families, and communities. Thank you very much.